This is your May 2024 NAL Talking Circle. Before we get into it, I am just going to play the disclaimer.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Awesome. Now that we've got disclaimed, we're just going to go over the agenda. Now, we might be a little fluid with this agenda, depending on how many more people join. But the intent for today was to go over some grant management reminders. You folks have just completed your APR, and so really some of the meat of today's talking circle was really to look at how you could use the data that you worked so hard in compiling for this APR, and how you can use it beyond the actual APR report to really share your story internally and externally. And then we were going to have some activity sharing and then to some discussion about upcoming events. But before we get into it, I want to say hi and welcome your program officer, Dr. Donna Sabas-Burns.
Thank you so much, Alani, and thank you, Nadine and Chelsea, for joining today. And it looks like we have somebody else joining. That's great. I haven't seen a name, but I see a beautiful, hey, Robert. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining. And so we have some really good information to share and really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And so stay tuned. We've got some good stuff coming your way. So thanks, Alani.
Thanks. And I'm Oleni, so I'll be your OIETA coach today. So let's first get into the reminders and announcements. And for those of you who are in school, maybe you are helping instruct in the native language, I just wanted to do a shout out. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and how much your community, your family, your school appreciates the hard work that teachers do. And in particular, I mean, all teachers work super hard, but when you are working with native language instruction, whether it's an immersion or a bilingual setting, a lot of times you are creating that curriculum materials, those instructional strategies, the assessments, I mean, everything. There's very rarely a curriculum you can kind of pull off the shelf as it relates to native language. And so there's double appreciation for those teachers who are working out there within the native language field. We also wanted to share with you an upcoming OIE summer series. I know, what was it, last month, I think, that both Donna Sabas-Burns and Donna Bussell, sort of shared a first glimpse into this series, excuse me, related to the Executive Order 14112. And so we wanted to share the dates. You should have received the invites. If you have not, please let us know and we'll make sure to put you on that so you have this on your calendar. But again, it's happening June 12th, the 17th, August 21st, and September 18th. And you're going to want to check that out because there'll be a lot of really great information to both think about and to maybe apply in your communities and get your communities aware of this Executive Order 14112, but also to maybe even communicate with other federal agencies you may be working with that may be unaware of the executive order or maybe looking at ways in which to implement that. Maybe you can be a thought partner with them as you learn more about this executive order. So really want to encourage you to attend. Also, of course, we have our NAL Padlet. You can find the NAL on the NAL Padlet, the updated information. Also, if you are thinking after going through your APR that you may want to submit a budget revision, the form is located there. And so anytime you're thinking like, I wonder where this form is, or I wonder where this information is, one of the places you can always go and look and see if it's there is on the NAL Padlet. And I think We're going to put up the link. Let me grab that for you, and I'll put that in the chat.
Do me a favor and show me how to get to the NAL Padlet link off of the OIE website, because I'm always looking there for resources and I can't ever find it. So then I end up emailing you guys.
And emailing us is a-okay. I do not believe that the Padlets are on the OIE website, because then potentially anybody who goes to the OIE website would be able to access the Padlet. And so we do send that link. So what you might want to do, Nadine, is like, the link is in the chat. Go to that link and then maybe bookmark it for yourself so you can always find it. But it's all good to email us too. That works just fine. But I think that's the reason why it's not on the OIE website. Okay, again, we want to celebrate that all of the NAL and ED APRs are in. Thank you so much for submitting them on time and getting them through the G5/G6 process. Congratulations, and we just want to, again, take a moment to thank you for your diligence in getting that report submitted and done. Just a reminder, we will be circling back come August, September, to provide you information about how to submit a potential APR update. Those will be due October 24th. It will be coming, you will be submitting your APR updates via a JOT form. Again, as we get closer to that date, we will provide you with more information. Now you may be thinking like, okay, Oleni, like, we're talking about APR updates. Like, how do I know if I have to submit one or not? And so here's a little checklist you can kind of run through to determine whether or not you need to submit an APR update. So if you reported 999 for some or all of your measures in section A of your APR, then yes, you do need to submit an APR update. If you submitted an incorrect number or number that needs to be changed in section A of your APR update, of your APR, then yes, you do need to submit an APR update. And what was that? What potentially could be an incorrect number? Maybe you thought you had all of the data that you were going to get, but maybe you had a couple new students maybe transfer into your school and now they've been receiving services. And so you want to correct that number and have it at the end of the grant year reflect the true number. You can go ahead and submit an APR update. Or maybe you just miscounted the number of students that were progressing. And so you have more students that progress in the native language. You can go ahead and submit an APR update. Remember, in your APR update, you are just submitting section A. If you submitted all the correct information and a complete data in section A for your APR and did not report 999, will you have to submit an APR update? Nope, don't need to do that. All your information is in and you're good to go. Now, you may again want to update your section C as far as the number of students you served or the adults that are a part of your program because you had more than expected. You're welcome to share that as well. But if all of your data is complete and there's no 999, then there's no need for you to submit section A for your updates. Also, I just want to share a little reminder about drawdowns. And so most grantees at this time of the year, you should have expended about 70%, maybe 60 to 70% of your budget funds. If you are struggling with making sure that those funds are being drawn down from your account, then you may want to talk with your budget office or budget person regarding your drawdown challenges. I know a lot of times we hear from grantees about there's some transition in budget staff. And so, new staff are coming in and they're having to learn the ropes. So that might be a challenge. It might be great to reach out to them You want to maybe develop a plan in cooperation with your budget people regarding the low drawdown situation. And then once you've come up with a plan, contact your grant program officer to communicate your challenges as well as what you're planning to do to overcome those challenges. Well, optimal, or OIE wants to see that you are doing this at least quarterly. It would be preferred monthly. Again, if you get to create sort of regular meetings with your budget office at the end of the month when they're reconciling their books, and be able to sort of collaborate on that and then be able to submit a drawdown, that is that would be a great practice.
Alani, can I start
Yeah.
say just one more thing too with the drawdowns? Drawdowns are not just good financial practice, obviously, but we're getting at the time of the year where our leadership, my leadership, actually goes down into G5 and they draw down a report. They make a report on the percentage of drawdowns. And we have to justify those drawdowns. So when you get questions or concerns from us as to, hey, why, there's no drawdowns, or what's the delay? And, when you sign the GAN agreement, it is expected that we do at least a quarterly drawdown. And while I know all of you are doing super hard work, if it doesn't show in G5 as drawing down, it doesn't come across that way. And we don't have the capacity to justify every single time it happens, unfortunately. So if your finance person is dragging their heels, then please reach out to me, and I'm happy to relay a message for you to give them, because we need to do whatever we can to help you get your drawdowns done. It doesn't look good. And when we look at APRs, that's one of the things that we consider is your drawdown amounts. And I know that there are lots of walls to climb, a lot of challenges and obstacles that come in the way sometimes with finance office. I know. If that's the case, please, as Lonnie said, let me know, and I'll do what I can to help you along. But the drawdowns are really, really, really important too. So yeah, I saw that, Chelsea. Matter of fact, I started to write a letter just for you. And I haven't finished it yet, but I will certainly give a letter to you and have you share that with your finance department, because I know there is a delay there. So yeah, just wanted to reiterate that it's not just us, it's not just me, it's my bosses and my boss's boss who come down the line and ask these questions, because they do look at spending habits. So please, just spend
Yeah.
appropriately.
Yeah. Awesome. So great. I mean, I guess you'll have a letter, Chelsea, coming to you, which will be helpful. Also, we have done some coaching sessions where we have both the project director and fiscal staff on. I know sometimes your fiscal or budget staff don't attend talking circles, or particularly when they're related to like your APR, the APR prep webinars. And so we would love to have a conversation to sort of put your financial responsibilities in context for your financial staff. Also, if you are expending money, your staff time, your materials, whatever is going on with your activities. And so if that money is leaving your organization and you're not doing the drawdown to replenish that funds, it can be difficult for you to have a healthy financial system in place. And so we want to make sure that you are supported both on the program side as well as on the budget side. And I see, Nadine, I know you're probably getting a lot of your data, like you said, like in August and September, but that's the busiest time of one of the busiest times of the school, right? With all the kids coming in. And so you do have a little bit of room to get that APR update in.
Our data actually is getting done right now. I mean,
Cool.
we'll have it in the next week or so. So can I start an APR update early is what I'm asking. I don't have to wait till the end, do I?
No, you don't have to wait to the end. You can,
But you have a form, that link again?
well,
It
what
didn't
you
work
can,
for me last time. I had to redo it all anyway, but.
yeah. What you can do
don't-
is, go ahead,
I was
Sarah.
just gonna say I haven't made the form yet, but you could start making it as like a PDF, and then we'll be able to upload that after.
Maybe on the thing.
Yeah, you can complete the section A. Oh, nice red balloon. I love it.
Oh, I want to show you guys what we're doing here today,
Cool.
because you were talking about staff appreciation. Oh, you
Uh.
call it teacher appreciation, but we call it staff appreciation. So we have a whole steak dinner happening, and we
Wow.
brought our bus drivers in early so that they could enjoy their dinner before they
Oh, that is wonderful.
get on the bus route. And then
Love it.
our kids are getting out at 1, and we're sending them home. And then we're having a whole celebration with our staff. So that's
Awesome.
that's our afternoon, because we think they're worth it. And in these times when it's hard to hire staff in education, you have to do everything you can to hang on to them. So that's part of our retention.
Yeah,
I'm going to
that's
stop
awesome.
video because I have our chef's little girl, which is my little relative, is playing her balloon right next to me, so I won't distract everybody.
It was good.
But as soon as that form's ready, if you guys would send it out, I would start doing it, because June is like the perfect time for me to finish data, because it's quiet here
Yeah,
and the data's done. It's done pretty soon.
awesome. Well, Nadine, you can again take that. We can see if I can upload that section A form. And then you can go ahead and put your data there, and you can put it on PDF, and we'll try to get that
Okay,
form to you. Yeah, but basically you just need that section A form, and you can type it
Okay.
right there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for bringing that up. Alrighty, so we were talking about drawdowns. Maybe one of the solutions for your drawdown challenges may be to relook at your budget. I know you probably have, I know you've looked at it in the APR, but maybe seeing about where you want to move things around. Maybe you're not able to expend funds. Maybe there's been some shift in like with personnel, and also maybe with some supplies and services that you need that you want to provide, that you maybe need some reallocation of funding. Doing in a budget revision, this is a great time to do that, because again, your budget is fresh in your mind, as well as sort of where your project measures are. And so you want to make sure you're reviewing your expenditures, again, having that conversation with your budget people, review your project measures as well, see how, shifting some funds around may help support where you want to go with your project measures and help you meet them. You can also meet with your program and budget staff in order to really sort of think through the remaining part of the grant year, and then go ahead and complete that budget revision form. And submit that via email to Donna. Now, if you want to have a different set of eyes to sort of just look at, because sometimes we get into the weeds and you don't see things, you can always submit that to OIE, and we can set up a coaching. And then once you've had another set of eyes look at it, then we can send it to Donna. This is your optional budget revision form. You can go ahead and find that on the Padlet. It's there. Oh, I see Chelsea Finance. Oh, changing banks. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like there's definitely some big transitions happening that may be holding up your ability to draw down those funds and have them go to the right place, right? Sounds like you're changing places where the money goes. All right. Okay. So with that said, we're going to transition into really a conversation and some sharing around, once the APR is done, how can you use the data that you were collecting to really tell your story? And why would you want to do that? One of the reasons that you want to maybe share your story outside of the APR, and this is both for internal and external audiences, is really the data that you collected can be used regularly in your team meetings to allow you to improve programs and address the needs of your participants. Also, data is, like Nadine was saying, it is another way in which you can help with staff retention. Now that it's so hard to find teachers and staff, we're always thinking about different ways in which you can retain the great staff. And one of the ways is of course, the positive data that shows like the improvements that are being made and their participation in the improvement. But also sometimes we think, oh, maybe data that's not showing improvement or not showing good would bring people's sort of morale down. However, being engaged in the problem solving and like looking at that data shows that you value your staff and that you value what their suggestions and their ideas are, and that they are empowered to use data to really make some changes and have effect on the program. And so that's another way. So negative data does not necessarily equal negative morale. It can be a way to boost and by empowering staff and giving them a voice in their program that they're working on. Also, data helps to build credibility. Stakeholders who are interested in supporting organizations, they're interested in supporting organizations that have credible missions and goals and are regularly communicating the progress of the program. By doing that, and then we'll go through different ways in which you can do that, you build credibility for your program and your organization. Data can also help to tell your unique story. Nonprofits can create a compelling story from data. Also, I know some of you are within schools that are in districts. It still helps within your district as well as maybe for your LEA or SEA to be able to tell the story of the great work that's going on in your particular school. Also, while maybe you don't have to sort of tell your compelling story for funding from prospective donors, it is a really great tool to bring on parents onto the work that you're doing and the support as well as the larger community. Data also helps to foster transparency. It's really important now for people to see the work that you're doing. It breeds trust, and trust, as we know it, always is really important in getting support for your program. Data also creates awareness. Again, what's going on in your community, what's going on in your program, what are the goals? I know many organizations have like a dashboard where they are sharing their improvements and the data. And even when there may be like not great data, they are also sharing like what they're doing to improve that data and what they're learning from that data. So there really is no bad data. It always becomes an opportunity to have a discussion or to share that you are continuing learning and adjusting to the needs of who you're serving. And of course, data shows the impact and it confirms to your stakeholders of the contribution that your program is making. Oh, goodness. Sorry. So let's look at one of those key areas of data is really around communicating impact. Sharing your findings and insights, including both internal and external audiences. And so your internal audiences definitely are your staff members, your board members, also maybe internal, external are your parents. They are maybe other school or, again, like I said, up the chain, maybe LEA or SEA, or maybe your Board of Education, also volunteers, maybe also some potential donors, and as well as the beneficiaries. You know, having a celebration like Nadine is doing today with maybe your students and your staff to really use the data to highlight the progress that they're making as it relates to native language, and really sharing you know, that they are some really key people in the movement and the growth of the native language. Oh, awesome, Nadine. Thanks for sharing. So you share your information at General Council, which is twice a year, and all tribal members, awesome, are welcome to attend an annual report. And wow, awesome. So this is great. You're sharing all over the place, which is wonderful. Have you been, what is the feedback that you get, Nadine, from, you know, these different ways in which you're sharing from your feedback from your stakeholders?
Whoop, I keep clicking off and on my camera. Great. I have a lag. We have really good positive public relations, both in our region. We're known as a really Indigenous responsive school, and everybody knows we have the NAL grant because we did a lot of publicizing of that. We put that notice out there. And even, you know, when we do BIE stuff nationwide, our school name is known too because we have so much going on, and we do presentations. I was asked to present again. I did last year. And we usually both my principal and I can't be gone from the school, so she usually goes to NIEA and she presents there. So we just do a lot of public relations. I mean, for everything, because we think we have a lot of good things going on here. And we're thankful for, you know, the support from our NAL grant. You know, it means a lot, and it made a lot of things happen at the school that may not. It funded 2 more language teachers that we wouldn't have here without it. And
Awesome.
it made a huge difference. So we
Awesome.
get a lot of positive feedback.
That's great. Awesome. And I love the whole, you know, also seeing like participating in conferences and presenting as another way to get your message out and the work that you're doing. It really positions your organization, like you said, in a positive light.
Yeah.
Who are you?
So there are different types of data storytelling. We're going to go through some of these. I'm going to show you some samples. And then at the end, we're going to break out into breakout rooms for you to have a discussion amongst yourselves. There is a link here at the bottom, and let me see if I can't. Oopsie, sorry. Maybe we can get a link at the bottom of this slide put in to the chat. This is got some really great resources as it relates to how to take your data and move it into storytelling. And us as Native people, we love to tell a good story. And so this is just a great way to sort of integrate and combine the data that you've been collecting with telling the story, like Nadine shared, in all those different ways and fashions. And so our factoid story, what is that? And so really, when you pull a factoid story is basically when you have a large data set. So for example, maybe all of your language assessments across, you know, your entire school. And as you're looking at that data, you pull out some interesting pieces of data, and you really start to zoom in on that one specific detail to offer a glimpse into the complexity and the richness of the data. Also, you want to maybe look at exploring further and uncover a broader narrative that it holds in that very small piece of data. And so here's an example. After only 1 year of native language education courses, 97% of students in grades K through 5 are at grade level proficiency. And so that's, again, a one piece of data, 97% of students are at grade level. And you're also sharing that it was only after 1 year. And then here's an example of how you can take that and build it into a full more robust story. And you can see in that first paragraph, I have that one factoid, that one data piece, and you can read through and see how I create a bigger story around that data. Really talking about the initiative, again, around creating that curriculum and the academic excellence across subjects, connecting, again, a lot of times with native language. Sometimes people think like, oh, okay, that's cute, you're learning your native language, but what does that do for the learner around other areas of academics? And so this is making the case around the connection between achievement and proficiency, as well as their performance in other academic areas and learning. Another way to tell a story is an interaction story. This is when two aspects of data seem to be related. You could go ahead and tell a story about how they interact. Like, for example, if one measure goes up and another goes up too, then that may be an interaction story. Or it could be if a measure goes down and another one goes up, like what that interaction is. And so here's an example around the data. Students who have teachers who are highly proficient in the native language are 75% more likely to be at grade level language proficiency. And so you're taking the data point about the high proficiency of language of your teachers, contributing to the proficiency level of your students. Here's an example of that story. Again, talking about the connection between, maybe through this NAL grant, you are, not just working on language development for your students, but you believe that the stronger the teacher is in their language proficiency, the better impact that they have on their students. And so you want to share that, you have a large percentage of teachers who are highly proficient, and you are now seeing in the data and making that correlation between that and the performance of students. And so again, it communicates the need to and the interest to invest in your native language teachers for the success of your students. Sometimes people question about like, why are you putting all this effort into professional development? Or why? I thought this was a language program about students. Well, this helps to make the case for why you want highly proficient teachers and why you're investing in that. And then we have a comparison story, which is kind of like the interaction story. You are in a comparison story, you're comparing between sections of data that can be a good way to tell your story. Often one part of your data tells one story, but another maybe tells a totally different story. And so you want to go ahead and share that to really be an example of the overall pattern of the data and what's happening within your program. And so here's an example of that data. Students attending language immersion schools in our district have a higher rate of school attendance by 20% than their peers not attending language immersion schools. Now that comes right out of your GEPRA measure, right? You can talk about this and really show, again, making the correlation between students being interested and having relevant education because they're being taught their native language and has relevancy to their lives, and they feel proud and they feel successful in their language, which makes them want to come to school, versus students who are not attending immersion schools and maybe not having as relevant as education and not being interested and not having that sense of pride. So again, making that connection and that comparison story with another sample group. And so again, your GEPRA measures 3 and 4 are perfect for telling that story. And here's an example of a comparison story. And basically, I mean, to tell you the truth, I took this right straight from your GEPRA and really started to talk about, again, how language immersion schools create a dynamic and engaging learning environment that, gets students interested and enthusiastic, which makes them want to be in school more regularly. And so, you know, maybe potentially this is showing again the impact of your program, but it can also be used to sort of maybe encourage other schools to engage students in either their native language, native culture, sort of taking this to the next level. If I could provide maybe an example of that is that in Hawaii, we've been seeing with, as it relates to native language and culture, really impacts within the native Hawaiian community. And so actually in the state of Hawaii, we have this whole department that is working within the Department of Education across the state to bring some of those to non-native, well, we have the Hawaiians all over the place, but to schools who are what you consider not culture-based or not immersion or language-based schools, in order to get the same impact in larger school settings. And so more and more schools are taking advantage of that because of the research shown around that. And so another way to tell your story is through a change story. And I know you folks have, and I read through a lot of your APRs, and a lot of you folks are talking about the changes you are seeing through your experiences and your perceptions and being able to tell that story. And so here's a data sample or an example. In the 2021-2022 school year, students in grades K through 2 were below grade level in math. However, in 22-23 school year, the data shows that the same student cohort is scoring at grade level in math. And so that is, again, that you could pull from your GEPR measure number 4 when it relates to academic progress. Maybe you chose math as the area that you want to see improvement on, or you're expecting to see improvement on. And here's an example of that change story. Again, just sort of blowing that up, talking about maybe the improvements that you've done, professional development, maybe targeted interventions, personalized support. Again, so tying in the actual data to the activities that you are providing. And the last one, which I know is like a great way to tell a story, is actually a personal story. So taking out a piece of data and personalizing it. Now, I know you folks are you're like, you are very aware of the privacy needed for students, but you can have a student in your mind, rename that student, and share a personal story based on an actual student. And if we look at this data, 97% of students who graduate, sorry, from a native language immersion school have been admitted to college. And so here, this example takes an actual story, puts a fictitious name on it, and shares an experience of a student who had gone through native language immersion school, and showing again the correlation between a piece of data and a personal story, as well as the impacts that it made on a student. So that was a bunch of me talking. And so we're going to get into maybe having you folks talk about this in your own breakout rooms. And so what we'd like to do is there is let me see if I can grab it. Shared a worksheet that I'm going to share in the chat that you can look at and use maybe to fuel your conversation. Think about, I know you probably don't have your, where'd it go? I know you probably don't have your APR handy, or maybe you do, but think back to the APR and some of the data that you collected, maybe even focus in on your GEPR measures, or maybe some of the project measures that you hold very near and dear to your heart, and think about that data to really start to talk about what kind of story you could build off of that data. And we are, let's see, we're gonna go into our breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. and have you folks talk about that. And let me go ahead and set up your breakout rooms. Are there any questions? Okay, and let's see. I'm going to do 2 breakout rooms. All right. So again, there's the worksheet there in the chat. You folks can get into the rooms and share what kind of story you might come up with, share the data that you collected, all that good stuff. And I'll call you back in about 15 minutes. Oh, you might also want to, in your sharing, have someone identify themselves as the reporter back, because we will be asking each room to share. I mean, I would love to hear from everyone. All right, I'm going to create this. Actually, you know what? I'm seeing that we don't have that many people on. So maybe we don't have to go to a breakout room. And I see Nadine's had to run. So I'm gonna stop that because I just saw how many people are here. So let's just have a discussion about your actual data and what kind of story you could make based on, again, your maybe even your GEPRA data or any of your project data. You want to have ideas about, or maybe you've already created a data story.
We are still collecting. This is the Goidongya Kiowa language director. We're still collecting some of our data from the Anadarko side, but from what I've looked at, I was a former teacher there, and so I know who some of the students are, and I noticed that their attendance, when compared with our comparison group, some of the students who were at risk had improved exponentially.
Awesome.
And I think that's really neat, because one thing that I feel like I've seen, I'm from that community. I'm Kiowa myself, taught Kiowa in the past, is representation. A lot of these students hear Kiowa, even the non-Kiowa kids, on a daily basis, but it's kind of used like slang or like a joke, sort of. And now, I feel like it's empowering, and that empowerment is giving them incentive to go to school. And so that's just really rewarding to see.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I think those are some of the, you said when you start a new program, those are some of the initial data that starts out when you start to, provide native language or culture-based learning within schools, is like kids want to be in school. And so you do get attendance showing up. And the next level is like performance, right? Because we know the more you show up, the better your performance, then you improve performance. And so that's awesome to hear. Definitely a great story. Any other stories that you think you might be able to create based on the data?
Well, I still have something to say. I don't know if I'm, meeting all the criteria of what we're supposed to be talking about, but on the professional development side and having, proficient teachers, one thing that's really neat is, we've done work with other grants in the past, and this one sort of builds off of that one, the previous one. But it has resulted in increased interest in teaching Kiowa, and so a lot of people are applying to become teacher candidates.
Nice.
We are engaging more people. They're it's making us, we need to step it up, as a department, as Kiowa people, because the interest is growing. The schools who want to include Kiowa in their curriculum is expanding. And so it's just really neat to see so many people who, we still have about 20 elders left who can speak,
Yeah.
which is, compared to some of the other tribes, we're very, very, very blessed to have them. But it's just really neat to see so many young people wanting to make this their career. So this is almost creating like a pipeline. I'm hoping from I'm learning Kiowa in high school and now I can go teach it. This is just, I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. That's a wonderful outcome, right? And maybe an unanticipated one.
Yes, absolutely. We put our most recent application up, and every day for teacher candidates, we're getting more applicants. So that's great.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome because
Honey,
yeah, go ahead.
my name is Misty. I am with the Saguenay Chippewa Indian Tribe at Sasquan's Immersion Program. From the data that we are collecting, we are looking at possibly some change stories. Within our community, we are noticing a decrease in actual foot traffic in our door outside of our preschool program. Getting second language learners as adults and things like that. Just because from what we're hearing from them and through our surveys and stuff, we're learning just that balance of work, family, home, school. Our families are really stretched thin and they have extracurriculars with their kids and things like that. So with the grant, we are able to bring the language into the home for them via recording devices and some audio materials and things like that, and finding ways to be more interactive with some of the technology and helping ensure that the Anishinaabe-Moan is reaching our families' homes.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely a change, right? And supported by with the grant funds, right? Great. Thank you for sharing. All righty. Well, that was very interesting to hear. And so once you have your stories, now today there's like a plethora of ways in which you can get your stories out. And I know Nadine has shared that in the chat. There's email campaigns, social media posts. You can take some of your data and put infographics, which is really making your data and your story visually digestible. Of course, you have your newsletters, which I'm sure you're sending out to parents and maybe even community partners. You may have an annual report. Definitely, you want to think about putting stories and data up on your website. Even maybe you might want to do direct mail. Sometimes that means like a letter going home with parents, or out to maybe creating a list of supporters in your community and doing, a mail out to your community. Some people have like, parent night, coffee meetings. Sometimes you go out in different events and you talk. Maybe you're also going, and like Nadine shared, you're presenting at different conferences or in different community meetings, tribal gatherings. Those are like also special events. And so I wanted to just share some samples. Here is a sample email of how you can sort of write your story and share your story via an email. Again, you can see that data piece sort of interwoven into the text of the email. Here's an infographic again that takes the different types of of data and creates a visual, sort of real fast look at the data, and it creates this really interesting visual element. This is great to be able to share electronically. Sometimes people print this out. There are free online apps that you can use. some of them are free, and then if you want to do fancier things, you have to start paying. But a lot of them you can just use the free version and make do with it. Also, utilizing data and social media. If you have any, maybe you have the free version of Canva, which is a app, you can, because of its AI possibilities, you can sometimes throw in data and ask it to generate social media posts. And so this again uses data, but also engages community. That's all I had. Did anybody have anything else they wanted to share? Maybe another way in which they are sharing their data? If not, we'll move on to some just talking story about what you're up to this summer. If your program is having any summer activities, or maybe you're just like, we're not having kids. What we're going to be doing is digging back into our assessment. Just share what you might be doing, any summer fun things that you're doing over the summer. You can just come off. Go ahead.
For the Kiowa language department, what we're doing, well, one, hopefully getting everything sorted out with the grant. There wasn't a director on site for about 8 months. So, and there's been a lot of turnover just in the tribe in general, new administration and everything. But aside from that, we're going to host a summer camp at the tribal complex. We will have a TP raising, archery tag. So we'll be working with another tribe. Let's see what else. Arts and crafts activities. I think
Nice.
we're going to make drums. Let's see, just all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So the kids will be grouped into different groups. They have wristbands with, Goidongya summer camp on them and color-coded wristbands and shirts, and then they will rotate stations throughout the day.
Wow.
There'll be food, all of that. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty neat. The plans are really cool. I don't have them right here in front of me, but we've been meeting regularly on Thursdays. Our next one will be today to figure out, who's going to cover which station. And that is our biggest plan right now. But we have some other things that aren't really, under the grant, just activities that we're wanting to do as a department in general. And that would be, reaching out to tribal childcare,
Wow.
trying to boost community engagement, having a Friday engagement activity. And in the way that would help us, with some of our objectives, which are we need to have 2 outreaches a year. So just a lot of cool stuff in the works, but the summer camp is our biggest project right now.
Yeah, that sounds big. That sounds fabulous. That
Yeah,
sounds
I'm excited.
If you're integrating, if you're using any of the NAL funds for that, we would love to see if you could share, and once the program is done, any like pictures, if you have waivers, because it's always great to sort of share that with Donna so she can see, the fabulous work that you guys are doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Misty, are you guys up to anything this summer, or are you like, what are you up to this summer?
This summer for our program, like I said, we do have the preschool program with the 3 classrooms. So we are going to continue through
I
the
see.
summer. I believe we have 6 weeks in total. We do a couple weeks on, a couple weeks off. So the students here will get 7 hours of language learning a day. And being summer, we're going to spend a lot of time outdoors and do some off-site learning.
Awesome. So your preschool runs year round?
And in the summer, it's just kind of off and on. I think a
Ah.
total of 6 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Give the teachers a little bit of break.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do get their time off and things throughout the summer, they'll be able to use up their time, but we're using some of the funds to invest in, as some of us have been talking and thinking about earlier, the professional development. So they will be doing some of that this summer while we don't have students.
Great. Awesome. Well, sounds like a very busy summer too. Both of you have busy summers. Did you folks have any questions that you wanted to ask as it relates to maybe your grant management or any of the content that was shared, or maybe just a question that has nothing to do with any of that?
I'm concerned about our grant management. I really do not want to lose our grant. And currently, because of our financial institutions delays, we aren't in compliance, and it doesn't look good because there haven't been any drawdowns. We've been paying our teachers, but it's coming out of our budget, which we're hoping to reimburse from,
Right.
OIE. It's just, it's a mess, and it's not, anyone's fault, in my opinion. It's just
Yeah.
that, our director had to quit because of I think she got engaged to someone who has worked in the tribe, so a conflict of interest. And then, there was a interim director, but she was over 12 different departments. So,
Wow.
I'm just very concerned. I don't want this to fall on me,
Yeah.
like, because it's not, the optics are, the directors lost the grant, but, the background is, our teachers were already in the school, and then we got the note, we actually got the grant, and everyone was so happy, and then the director was gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping, that I guess I'm asking for some sort of reassurance that this is salvageable.
Yes. Well, I think you're doing the right thing by letting Donna know, by engaging her in that. Like we keep saying, like communicate with your program officer. That way they see that there is intention. I know sometimes, we maybe get embarrassed or concerned, and so we don't want to like let the program officer know, but it's better to let them know instead of like them seeing it like pop up and then they think like you're not dealing with it, right? And so if you are communicating, then they know that there is interest and intention to make this successful. There's just some glitches in the way, and then they'll help like facilitate discussions, because when a funder comes in, sometimes, particularly budget offices, they listen, right? And so sometimes you need that extra oomph. And so I think it's great. You might want to, it sounds like Donna was already writing a letter. You might want to, like, after this, send her an email, and ask her about the letter, and, keep that conversation going with her. That way, I think that's the best way to preserve the grant and keep it moving.
I really appreciate that feedback because, there's always this concern about, should this be an internal discussion,
Right.
or should we share this with, and it's my opinion that if I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm trying to follow procedure, I'm trying to do everything that the way it's supposed to be done. And if there was an obstacle that, it wasn't really anyone's fault, it's just the way the cookie crumbled, I think the best thing to do is communicate. So that's reassuring, and I really appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, sure. Because really, I think, Donna saw the APR, so she knew something. She sees your G5, she knows something's going on, right? And so even if it's like, I am doing these and these and these steps in an email, if you could like give yourself maybe every 2 weeks, I'm going to follow up with Donna, let her know where we're at. That for them reassures them that somebody is on it and they're working through it, versus going silent. And then there's just sort of like, there's an unknowing, which in your head can conjure up all different kinds of things. And so whether you are having a struggle or a success, communication with your program officer is the best medicine for both.
Okay.
Awesome. So you're on the right track for sure. All right, any other questions? I am going to put up let me find my poll, an end of event poll. I know it was just a small group of us, but I'm so glad that you folks stayed on. If you wouldn't mind taking this poll, we actually use this data to tell a story about what areas we need to improve on, to understand what you're doing with this information. And so it should be showing up for you. Let me know in the chat if it's not. But as you finish that up, I just want to let you know, sounds like everybody's super busy this summer, but we are still going to be here. We have May 23rd, we have office hours. Again, you can join, come in, ask your question and leave, or you can just like listen in. Our next talking circle is scheduled for August 15th. And so unless you reach out, or maybe I'll see you at the summer series or some other events we're having this summer, NAL will not be getting back together as a talking circle until August 15th. If you have any questions, or maybe you need a thought partner in something, Chelsea, if you want to like schedule a meeting with your fiscal staff and us to go over any of the maybe budget revision that may need to be done either this year or in the next year, we're more than happy to jump on and do a short sort of training to get the new budget staff aware of the information that they should be planning to provide. You can schedule that. You can either email us, or you can go to the Calendly link and go ahead and schedule that right on the Calendly link. And then finally, again, I just want to thank you for joining. If you have any questions, or you want to communicate with your program officer, like we just were talking about, there is Donna Sapis-Burns' email. I'm sure you folks have that already in your email. Once you press a D, it pops up Donna. Also, if you have any questions or concerns, you can also email us. If there's any transitions in staff, maybe you want to include more people on our talking circle or our events email, you can go ahead and email that to oie@seiservices.com. Again, thank you for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to give you back, I'm giving you back a bunch of minutes, 30 minutes. And so enjoy that extra 30 minutes that you didn't have to hear me talking, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Aloha and take care.